Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I feel grateful that we could gather here to hold spring ground service for Keiichi Kane no Kami, the principal parents of the universe. When COVID-19 pandemic started in early 2020, I never imagined that this issue continued this long. I remember the first spring grand service of Waipahu Church held only among the Yasutake family, my family. All the members worshiped from home. I think Wahiawa was similar because the gathering was prohibited at the time. But gradually we have been gaining, normal life, little by little. And I feel grateful that we could gather here to hold the Wahiawa grand service almost same way as a pre-pandemic. So thank you for attending, and thank you for your help during a difficult time. Although we are getting pre-pandemic normal life little by little, this issue is still ongoing. And in addition, there's so many other issues such as environmental issues, political, the social issues, war broke out in Ukraine. There's so many other issues, and mainly due to ignorance of the divine favor, ignorance of the Kami's heart, and because of the human beings' selfish desires. And you can notice that unusual weather here and there. Extremely hot one place, extremely cold in one place, and extremely dry in one place, and wet in another places. And that is causing like a drought, and wildfire, and the other places heavy rain and flood, and some places causing huge hurricane and tornadoes in various areas on the earth. Why these kind of the disasters keep occurring? Do you think it's some kind of the divine punishment? One of the Konko Daijin's teachings says, quote, when people continually experience misfortunes, they often come to worship saying, this must be some kind of curse, this must be a punishment. But what reason would Kami have for punishing his beloved children? Kami is trying to say that you should be careful, unquote. You should be careful. So what kind of message Kami is giving us through this COVID-19 pandemic? One thing we realize that we've been taking our normal, ordinary life for granted. People started to realize, oh, we are so lucky. Having just normal, ordinary life is such a wonderful blessing. So people started to realize those things. And another thing I feel the Kami-sama is saying, people, slow down. Slow down. Because I kind of feel the human being has been too hustle, pursuing economic gain too much, with mass production, mass spending, just making, using, and dumping. That kind of the lifestyle we are taking. And we are trying to materially wealthier than necessary. Maybe we don't have to be that much, we don't have to have so many things. Since industrial revolution, human being has been experiencing rapid civilization and rapid business growth. At the same time, human being has been causing lots of environmental issues. Comparing to the 50 years ago, just 50 years ago, population become double, and business grow four times more than 50 years ago. But at the same time, 1/5 of Amazon forests were cut down. And global warming has been destroying glacier and a coral reef, which is the home for the many living creatures. And as a result, 20% of living creatures disappeared or are being in danger of extinction. Scientists say about 1 million species on the Earth will sooner or later be extinct. And Konko Daijin warned us in teachings, quote, though they say the world is becoming civilized, it is not. It is collapsing. Hence, Konko has come forth to save the world. I watched some TV program recently, and in that TV program, Dr. Marcus Gabriel, a famous German philosopher, who became a university professor when he was only 29 years old. In the TV show, in the interview, he responded to the question, can human beings go back to the world of pre-pandemic? You know what he answered? He said, no. We should not go back to the pre-pandemic. We should not go back to the pre-pandemic because it was not a good one. Economic growth was way too fast, causing too much competition and issue with the environment. The global COVID-19 pandemic occurred in 2020 is the last call from the nature hitting us. People don't continue like this. That's what he said. That's what he answered. He thinks the destruction of the environment and poverty is caused because the global economy has pursued only, economic profit. We only looking for the profit, ignoring the natures and other animals, environment. Then after pandemic, he thinks we need to restate economy to what he called ethical capitalism. Ethical capitalism, where instead of just gaining wealth, think wealth is an opportunity to do good for others and opportunity to share with others. He said the firms and the country's goal should be redistribution of the wealth in universal ethical value. Slower economy, but happy economy with different way of making money, combining different kind of philosophy. He believed that ethics and economy are not contrary to each other. Firm can still make money doing the activity for environmental protection and charity. And other economists also say, the investor, do you invest in anything? Do you purchase stock? Or do you invest in, so you have stock? Wow, you must be rich. So when you invest in stock, what do you see? The company's financial report or financial position. Yeah, this economist said the investor used to look financial report or financial position in order to decide which company to invest. Well, after pandemic, the investor kind of decided to change. They look more for if the company is going to do activity for like the protection of the environment, for the human right, for charity, for the underprivileged countries and people. So it appeared that people's sense of value started to change little by little with experiencing this COVID-19 pandemic. But actually, Konko has been stating this concept, this sense of value since the start. We appreciate, blessing from nature, and respect nature, and try to keep compassion heart, doing ethically good, helping each other. Emphasize Aiyo Kakeo for mutual respect, mutual reliance with kami, nature, and other people. We don't totally deny financial or material gain. However, we emphasize more on a spiritual gain. We call it Toku. Toku for divine virtue, or some people say credit or trust from kami, or some sense they call it spiritual asset. So whatever called the Toku, that's what being emphasized today. Several years ago, I visited Kokura Church in Kyushu, Japan, and Reverend Katsura of Kokura Church said, told us, I visited with other Hawaii members, and Reverend Katsura said, you may think you possess the property like land and houses, but those belong to kami. Nothing belongs to you. But there is one thing, however, people are allowed to possess. That is toku, or divine virtue. And divine virtue can be taken even after you die and passed down to the future generation. Well, nothing belongs to us. What do you think? I tend to think house is mine because I pay mortgage, and the car belongs to me because I pay for it, and I have a certificate of ownership. So what do you mean by nothing belongs to me? You think same, right? The things you have, that's yours, right? Well, legally and economically speaking, it may be so. But legal and economic system absolute and permanent? What if the United States changes system to communism, for example, and everything is confiscated by the government? Well, it's very unlikely to occur, but it's not impossible. My mother's side family used to be a big landowner of the farming field. So my grandfather was a farmer, but never physically did farming. All done by the tenant farmers. My mother told me one day that when she was small, she remembered tons of rice bags were brought into the big, huge warehouse. And not just one warehouse, but several warehouses. But you know what happened? After World War II, the policy of dissolution of economy combined, called Zaibatsu, and a big landowner had taken place. And as a result, much of my grandfather's land had to be transferred to the tenant farmers, almost for free, almost for nothing. So if the ownership of the land is absolute and permanent, my grandfather's family should still own those land. Toku, or spiritual asset, on the other hand, cannot be taken away by anyone. It's permanent and absolute. You can even take with you even after you die. And another thing, good thing about Toku, you know what? It is tax-free. No matter how much Toku you get, the tons of Toku you get, no tax at all. No income tax, no sales tax, or no property tax. And Toku can be passed down to the future generation. And you know what? No inheritance tax. So IRS or the Department of Taxation cannot trace the spiritual asset as a taxable income. So that sounds good, isn't it? It's a very good place to invest. But so how can we earn this tax-free spiritual asset of Toku? The founder told us, quote, "It can be received by anyone who practices faith. The virtue of karming is unlimited." Unquote. So if we practice faith, we can earn Toku, or spiritual asset. But what is practicing faith? The coming to church, attending a service like this, and receiving toritsugi, offering prayer. Those are, one of the very important basic practice of Konko faith. However, there's another teaching like this. Quote, "Without thinking of social position, without arguing, without holding conceit for being educated, and with pure sincerity, karma's door will be open to you to receive divine virtue." Unquote. So the practicing faith is not just coming to the church, receiving toritsugi, offering prayer, but also in a daily life, try to be sincere, appreciative, prudent. So that's the way of practicing faith in Konko faith. So let us try to practice faith with, sincere, appreciative, prudent heart, so that you can accumulate, the divine virtue, the Toku, which is much more valuable than the economic books. Thank you very much.
I saw the microphone is all on, but it died. Anyway, thank you very much for the presentation, Sensei. Personally, I feel so grateful to be able to celebrate today's annual grand service for the Light Force Tenchi no Kami. This is our 45th annual grand service. Both my wife and I could have enjoyed to celebrate this most special occasion. After we remember an unthinkable episode we have encountered when we held the first grand service on October 30, 1977. Both my wife and I arrived just 2 weeks ago. on September 28, 1977. And 2 weeks later, we held our first grand service like this today. Can you believe, after arriving in Hawaii from Japan in just 2 weeks, we have to prepare the biggest annual function of this church. As was tradition of the Konko community in those days in Hawaii, we hosted the 2 ministers from Maui and Hanapeke here, three ministers. Real Shoichiko Okuno and Kyokai Yasuke and Nagai Sensei. They stayed at the home church for the 10th service. And after service, next day, they come to Wahiawa church. We have to prepare places and for meals and so on. We need 2 weeks with nothing, with no, and then for 12 hours, they stay at Wahiawa church in preparation for the service. We have to accommodate their stay, prepare some meals and prepare for the services to be held for the day. I do not know how we handle the situation. One of the church members asked us to buy onaga for Osanai. They introduced a friend who came to him around here and asked me to buy the fish for the Osanai. And I still remember it cost about over $200 for 2 fishes. I purchased the Osanai for Onaga for the service at the nearby shopping center on food. The Reverend Kawahatsu of Waipahu Church gave Reverend Sensei an interesting shaped fruit called avocado. First introducing interesting fruits. So Reverend Sensei trying to sell unripe avocado to sell it. And Toku Sensei yesterday, ha ha ha. This is what? Because they can't just eat. We had no idea about the food and how to serve. And when Sensei look at that people, that was one of the episodes we encountered soon after we arrived for our missionary. From the very beginning of our stay serving addiction community, faith community, there was one woman. Her name is Miss she celebrated the 99th anniversary, passed away 2 days later. Yesterday, for the evening of the grand service of the church, my signature expression was, I am so busy and moving around without God. So driving just a few months ago, I understood the meaning of I'm so busy. The stand for I have been busy, but say for other people, and for him, for us, self. So I enjoy, I understand the vitality you she enjoyed was just the reflection of the heart, mental, spiritual state. Do something for other people. It would be one of them helping one another. Join to share news of our passing on early morning yesterday of the 12th. That's one day before the service issue. And I may keep on remember. There's a one term of minister said, Kamiyagai. It's a divinely arranged passage of the approach. I think she just exemplified this we, 神様